What's up? It's Colton Sullivan. We're back here with another episode of Shralp Stories. Connor Eck behind the lens. Connor Eck Films on Instagram. He's a hammer. Um, Anyways, we are here with the brand new Shralp with something that I've never tried before. I've heard a lot of good things about, and I'll give you some backstory, I guess. People like Tanner Gadauskas, Tanner Sack, who you've seen in a bunch of Shralps. But yeah, I've just heard really good things about this certain type of surfboard, and I'm going to give it a try today. I think there's some common misconceptions about it, so I'll introduce it now. It's called XTR, right? This is a Timmy Patterson shaped surfboard, the synthetic 84 model, so it's a Timmy, but the difference is it's not epoxy, it's not poly, it's XTR, which stands for extruded foam. So basically, I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it sounds like epoxy, right? So when I went and picked this board up, I was talking to the guy that started manufacturing them a long time ago. They're not new. They've been in the industry for a while. I'd say 10 years, could be wrong, but should be about 10 years, something like that. So they've been in the industry for a minute, and it's not anything new. I just think that people don't really understand what it is. So that's why we're here doing a Shralp on it. So basically, XTR is a type of foam. It's its own type of foam. It's not epoxy, right? So what we did was we took a broken piece of an epoxy, and he like snapped it off of the board. Not in front of me, but he has like sample pieces there at the shop. So if you look at an epoxy foam blank, not glass, like the actual foam on the inside, it's got beads of foam in it, just like if you were to take a styrofoam cooler from the grocery store and break that, you know, there's like hollow or like little beads of foam in there, and then there's little gaps in between each bead. That is exactly what an epoxy surfboard will look like. So we took one of those. We took a poly blank piece, just like that epoxy one, and looked at that, and that has the exact same looking beads as a epoxy foam. They're like kind of solid little balls of foam. The only difference is they're more connected, they're more pressed together, right? So there's less air inside of that blank. It's more dense. That's why a lot of people really like them, because they'll cut through the chatter. It's more of like a solid board, whereas epoxy is really floaty and on top of the water, because of all that air inside of the blank. Now, with XTR, extruded foam, it basically, a poly and epoxy blank get blown into a mold, right? So you have this mold of like a surfboard blank that you want with your rocker profile, and general length, things like that. So you get this block of foam that has rocker in it already, a little bit of curve on the top, and then a little bit of curve on the bottom. So you have like a good starting point. What happens with extruded foam is it comes out of a machine in like a big, long rectangle. And basically, they take this big, long rectangle, and it comes out at high pressure, just like it would in a mold, like epoxy or poly. But it comes out at high pressure, this big, long rectangle, right? Comes out of this machine. And then they put it into another machine that has hot wires in it, and then they cut the rocker profile into that blank so that it's a little bit easier for a shaper or a shaping machine to cut it, right? And then from there, they give it to a Timmy Patterson, a Rusty, a Channel Islands, Paizel, you name it. They give it to that shaper, and then that shaper cuts it in his machine, hand shapes it, gives it back to XTR, and then XTR glasses it with epoxy resin, not foam, epoxy resin and cloth. And you know, they do different things. Like if you come over here, it has flex value, right? So all the way from 1 being least flexy to 10 most flexy, I think. Maybe 10's least flexy. I don't know. you get the point. But mine's at number 6. So what they mean by that is how much carbon is in the board, you know, whether there's 2 carbon strips on the sides that stop here at the fins just like mine, or whether it goes 1 strip that goes all the way tip to tail, or they do curved patterns, like they do all sorts of different patterns to change the flex. And this board is meant for more mushy waves, softer style waves, so they went for like a more medium flex level so that I still get good spring and good pop out of my boards. The difference is poly boards, epoxy's a little easier, but poly boards are tough to get more or less flex out of, just because they're less predictable. They're easier to break. If you don't put a stringer in it, they're more than likely going to break. Not all the time, but more than likely. And yeah, so I'm getting off on a tangent here with flex, but what's going on with the board, they glass it, right? And this type of extruded foam, when it heats up, it off gases, right? So if you seal this board completely with resin and fiberglass cloth, it's gonna expand and delaminate the cloth, the resin and stuff, from the actual foam blank. So what they had to do, I'll try to find some, they had to do little pinholes in it. Where are you? Is they put these little, they glassed the whole board and they put these little pinholes in it. There's more in the board. I think there's one.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe right here and right here. So those little pinholes are so that the gas can actually seep out of the board and not delaminate and ruin your board. Now, if you did that with an epoxy or a poly, remember how I mentioned that there's those hollow beads in there? There's air inside of that blank. That board's gonna soak up water and get heavy and shitty, ruin the board. Now, with XTR, extruded foam, it's a solid block. There's no cells in it. It's just a solid, like, dude, he handed me the foam blank. If you've ever touched a foam blank before, if it's poly, you can put your thumb through the board almost. Epoxy, same thing. Now, when he handed me this, he's like, push as hard as you can on that with your thumb. And I'm not even joking. I'm not the strongest guy in the world, but like, I can still push down on shit. And I pushed as hard as I could with my thumb on this thing, and it would not dent. And this is a raw piece of foam. So that just kind of gives away how dense and how strong these blanks are and how different they are. But this board will not soak up water. So if you get a ding in your rail, you're on a surf trip, something like that, you're not going to have an issue with your surfboard. You know, most boards, it'll soak up water and get all yellow and get weird and delaminate or get heavy or something like that. Like, this board will actually not repel the water, but for lack of a better term, it'll repel the water. So that's a really cool feature about this board. If you're on surf trips and things like that, and you kind of have a one board quiver and you don't want to deal with ding repair while you're on a trip, this is your board. Big difference with XTR from extruded foam from epoxy to poly, or mostly epoxy, I guess, is it'll feel more like a poly board because it's dense, just like a poly board would be. Racetrack. So the whole idea behind it is a surfboard that doesn't soak up water. It's closest to a poly surfboard, has more flex capabilities, and it floats in the ocean and does turns and airs. So we're gonna give it a go, see how it works. Got my True Aim fins, Timmy Patterson set, and a racetrack flat pad. But yeah, we're gonna go give this thing a fly, see how it goes. You know how it works. We're gonna go for a Shralp. We're gonna come back and we're gonna kind of compare and contrast, because all I really ride are poly boards. So I'm gonna try to see what it feels like compared to poly. Just initial reaction, like knee-jerk reaction of like what I felt. Now it could be wrong. You guys could completely disagree with me, but let's go see how it goes. that was a successful Shralp, but let's get straight into it. So first impressions, immediately as soon as I jumped on the board and laid on it, and started paddling, the thing paddles like a champ. Felt pretty normal all the way up until I caught my first wave. And as you can probably see in the clips, it was, I wouldn't say bad, but it was different. It was very, how do I say this? It's like, okay, it's like trying to grab a fish barehanded. I'm sure some of you guys have tried to do that, maybe not all of you, but some. And you know how they just like squirm out of your hand? It's kind of like that. Like, it's very lively, it's very like fast, and like everything's like high sensitivity, like twitch, like, you know, you want to do a turn, you're doing a turn right then, you know, like it's hard to slow the board down and get it to like rail surf like I like to do on my poly boards. So that was like the first initial interpretation of the board. Then after I got a bunch of waves on it and started to kind of feel it out, I went front side. At first it was only backside waves, and then I finally started getting a couple rights, and then went front side a few times and was actually able to like feel the board and get it to go. And I mean, by the end of the whole surf, to sum things up, I actually really liked it. I thought it was really fun, and I do not like epoxy surfboards. Now, this isn't epoxy, I'm just saying, case in point, I'm like a die-hard poly guy. I love poly boards, and this was like all the benefits of an epoxy and some of the benefits of a poly mixed in one. It was drivey like a poly board. It was on top of the water and fast like an epoxy board, but it didn't have the chatter like epoxies do. So it was nice and smooth and clean feeling like a poly. It was I mean, it was a really good board. I don't think personally I'd ride it in bigger waves. Obviously it's a small board made for smaller waves, so I'd have to try like a step up style board to see really what I think, but just judging off of this, I don't know if I'd order a step up type of surfboard in this construction. Maybe I'll try it one day and I'll change my mind, but I think it works really, really well in the type of surf that we were in. You know, kind of mushy, kind of gutless, it was glassy, keep that in mind. And, you know, punchy little wedges. You know, you like trying it at lowers would be actually kind of fun. I think maybe that's the next thing I'll do, is go down to lowers, give this thing a go on like a more open face style wave and see how that works. Also, I rode Timmy's template from True Aims, so they're a smaller type of fin, very flexy, and you know, it'd be fun to kind of, I like to ride the Almeric AM2 fins a lot, so it'd be kind of fun to throw the AM2s in here. I actually just lost my other set of AM fins, so I don't have any right now, but one of these days I'll hit up True Aims and hopefully get some more fins, because they're the best, and I will try some AM fins in here, Almeric, and kind of might get like a better comparison to the PU boards I ride, because I've always ridden Almeric fins, so give that a go. But I love this thing, honestly. It was really fun, it was really lively. The flex pattern in it is a trip. Like, when you come off the bottom, you can kind of feel it bending under your feet, and then as you come off of that turn, it'll like propel you. Like, that's one of the things that I had to really get used to, is how much pop you get out of your bottom turns. I mean, all boards flex, whether it's a stringered poly, a stringer plus carbon, or just carbon, whatever. All boards flex. And the way this one worked under my feet flex-wise, coming out of those turns, it fucking threw you. Like, it was pretty crazy. It was really impressive, actually, how much pop you get out of a turn. So that was really cool and really nice for these like unpredictable, like weird little ripple waves. So like I said, I'd like to try it at more of an open face, like down the line style wave, but for now we surfed down here. We had a lot of fun, and you can get all sorts of different shapers boards from XTR as well. These guys, they work with Rusty, Pizel, Album, Channel Islands. What else did I see in there? They got all kinds of shit. So check them out, but always recommend Timmy's because Timmy's the man and local legend. So support your local. Thanks for watching Shralp Stories. Shop racetrack pads. Also support your local. And yeah, we'll keep picking at this thing. I think the next video, I think maybe we'll go down to lowers. What do you think about that, Connor? Good?
Deal.
Let's get it. Okay, tune back in next week. We're gonna keep talking about this thing because it's something new, brand new tech, brand new type of surfboard. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching Shralp Stories. Now get off YouTube and go fucking surf. It's summer.